Hey, what's up, guys and ladies, if there are any of you out there? Ooh, I guess I should have looked in the mirror before I started up the camera. I was running in the mill there a few minutes ago. Um, Thanks for everybody for the patience for hanging around. Those of you that subscribe to my channel know I've been having some technical difficulties, and we've worked through those, or at least partially through those. I'd like to give a big shout out to my buddy Tom Zeleckman. Yes, Tom, I said it right. At Inspirational Metalworks, he has a YouTube channel, but he's an IT guy, and he called me today and remoted into my computer, which that still baffles me, and was able to fix some things, check some boxes, or whatever. Can't use a hammer. But anyway, thanks those of you that have tuned in and are watching. I'd ask you, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, to click subscribe, and then there's a little bell there if you'd like to get notifications when we put up videos. Obviously, this is a live video. We're going to do some live videos, but we put up videos here on projects, cool things I get to build, cool things I get to do. So by subscribing, you help the channel grow, and YouTube advertises us more, which helps us grow, which helps, the channel do more things. Milkman 9910, thank you for hanging around. Yes, I think we got it all worked up. Merry Christmas, Goose 393. Merry Christmas to all, and to all not yet nighttime yet. Cannon Builder, hey buddy, what's going on? Listen, man, I really appreciate all the support from you guys. Obviously, I guess I could call myself a cannon builder now, although I'm not a connoisseur of cannons. But a lot of questions have been coming up on the channel about the cannon. Just people asking stuff, suggesting stuff. Most everybody's super cool and wanting to see more close-ups what they didn't get to see in the video. So if there's anything in particular you want to see, the cannon is actually sitting behind my computer right now on the workbench, and I can pull the camera off. In a little while, we'll go over there, we'll do some close-ups, we can talk about the cannon, talk about things that went well, things that didn't go well. Had no idea what I was doing when I built it, honestly. Yeah, cannon builders, show us a bowling ball cannon and 2 pounds of powder. That we'd like to see that. Blue Wolf, hey, thanks for hanging around while we work through the technical difficulties. If y'all are just tuning in, my buddy Tom Zeleckman over at Inspirational Metalworks, go give his YouTube channel a look-see. He remoted into my computer and fixed a bunch of stuff that I had no idea. Hey, Shade and HKW. No, I didn't lose my razor. This is called Christmas Vacation. For those of you who don't know, firemen can't grow a beard, at least not in this state, because mask won't seal to your face. So when you're on vacation, you don't have to you can have a beard. Yeah, I'd like to shoot an anvil, but not out of this cannon. There's been a lot of folks posted questions up on the channel and sent me emails about the cannon. Just keep posting up. Good to see you too. I want to start off doing a couple things. Not to be copying Mr. Pete, although I am a big fan of Mr. Pete. I've had the privilege to meet him several times. I did want to put something out there, especially since there's some of the Stan Zinkowskis and out there that can tell me. I got a phone call the other day, and I got a piece of equipment. Phone call came from Keith Rucker at Vintage Machinery. He said, "Hey, dude, I'm sending you a link. I think this is in your neighborhood. There's a guy selling a Gershner toolbox on Craigslist. It looks like it's right down the street from your house, or in your neighborhood," which neighborhood in a farm country means miles. But you might want to go take a look at it. Well, I went over, and it was a Gershner toolbox, top to bottom, loaded with tools for a very reasonable price. And so I wound up buying it. I didn't need it, but I bought it. I have an issue. So I'm gonna maybe do another video, just go through the toolbox, let everybody see that, because it's got a lot of neat stuff in it. The guy was either a tool and die maker or a machinist. He obviously passed, but there was some stuff that when I bought the toolbox came with it. And Stan, maybe you can tell me what this is. I'm gonna show you guys these things. Hopefully I can get it in frame. They're homemade, they're shop made. And so there's two of them, and they look like some kind of fixture. This has got a piece of tool steel in it right there. It's, you know, it's ground correctly to be some sort of cutter. And then what's interesting about, let me get it in frame here, this one is it has some kind of like indexing jig here. And I have no idea what these are for. You know, I don't want to like put them in the recycle bin, but I don't know that I need them. If anybody's got any idea what they are, please, there's not going to be a part 2, the answer to what this is, because I don't know. But take a look at those. This one again has got the same, it looks like maybe they indexed this somehow. And then the same thing, it would use a piece of high-speed steel, you know, tool bit there. I don't know what they are. Also in the box with that stuff, and it may or may not go to it, is this. You know, it's fairly crudely made. Anybody got any ideas? You know, tooling is very job specific. Yeah, I kind of figured that. You know, it's probably something he made for some job. Just thought I'd throw it out there if anybody's got any idea what it might be. So some of the stuff that people asked me out on the channel about the Canon was, you know, everybody wanted to know about powder. Don't know. Home machine. Okay, got it. Okay. They want to know powder. So the Canon I built it for specifically black powder. And black powder is not modern gunpowder. That's not what, like, you know, police officers or the military using their guns. That's a high pressure powder, burns very fast, builds a lot of pressure. As a matter of fact, stand by one sec. This is what I use. I'll give you a close up. It's 2F black powder. I guess there's 1F, 2F, and 3F, from what I've been able to tell. And each one is builds a little more pressure, burns a little faster. And so black powder is nasty, it's dirty, which is why when you see cannon shots, you see all the powder. But it doesn't put the barrel stresses like the modern powder does, where it builds a tremendous amount of pressure really fast. So, you know, this is something for fun. We're not trying to hit anything. We're just launching golf balls into the stratosphere. I use black powder substitute as black powder. I don't even know where to get that, but you know, I mean, I got to be honest. This is something I built for fun with the kids, right? Because I'm not going to let my kids at 8 years old shoot a cannon, but they think it's cool as crap, and you know, all their friends want to come over and see us launch golf balls, and you know, that's the way to keep the kids around here and keep them from wandering off and be the house that everybody wants to come to for, you know, raising kids, and that I think that's really important. Yeah, Tom Zelickman just said we never found the golf balls. Yeah, we didn't. Tom, I've not yet found a golf ball that I've shot. Even when we were up in Ohio, we shot it with, I think it was like 30 or 50 grains, and we were a couple hundred yards. We could see where the ball splashed, and that was the closest I've ever come to finding a ball. The barrel thickness, I said it in the video, but the barrel thickness I tried to maintain between 7/8 and 1 inch barrel thickness all the way around. You know, I don't know a lot about cannons. You can read, and everybody has an opinion about it, so I just built it. Cannon builder, it's called 777. Bass Pro has it? Okay. Yeah, we did, Tom. We had to cut way back on the charge. Way back. So the cannon, for those of you watching, I built this to take up to Zanesville, Ohio. I live in Florida. Took it up to Zanesville, Ohio. Jimmy DiResta built one, and John Saunders built one, and then Dale Derry from Build Something Cool, Metal Tips and Tricks. He was supposed to bring one that he built, but he actually left home and I guess left it in his garage. And we were all just going to go up there. It's kind of a friendly cannon build competition sort of thing. Just, you know, just having fun. And kind of started, and, you know, it's always the Tim Allen, if you can build a cannon, I can build one bigger. And I just happened to find one that I find a blank of brass that I could build that barrel out of. And I wanted something that the cannonballs were cheap because, you know, a big round steel ball, you shoot that very many times, it can get pretty expensive. So I settled on the golf ball, plus the golf ball, you know, flies pretty straight. Self-spin correcting anyway. Hey, Sean, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us. So some of the troubles that I had with this is my milling machine is not big enough to, I'm sorry, my lathe is not really big enough to put this thing in there. If you watch one in the video when I drill it, I actually am pulling the tailstock to get the drill bit all the way out. I'm actually had to take the stop out of the ways and pull it out to clean it and then set it back in and ride it back in that way. You know, I was like that close to not being able to do it or having to cut it down, which I didn't want to do. The trunnions I did not like when I saw these guys threading. They would drill the barrel and thread in partially, and then I didn't like that because that, to me, that's the spot where the pressure can cause a crack in the barrel, and that's where the failure would begin. So, you know, I just came up with the shrink fit ring that's partially pinned into the barrel. You know, I talked with Adam Booth. He gave me some help with figuring out how much shrink fit. It's about 4 thousandths. I was actually aiming for about 5, but my lathe just isn't that tight to keep it at 5 thousandths. So we wound up with about 4. And then that ring, in the video you see I shrink it onto the ring, and it's really cool, man. Go back and high speed that and watch it, because that ring just defrosts as the heat works its way all the way up the barrel. Once that was in there, we drilled about 3/8 of an inch into the barrel so that the trunnion pins are actually into the barrel. They're driven into the barrel, and then they're held in there with the Loctite assembly lube. And I know that if we were to cycle this thing a whole bunch of times and build up a bunch of heat in the barrel, it would loosen the Loctite, but there's not any heat in that barrel at all after one shot. And, you know, we shoot it, and the kids scream and yell, and they run out there and help me pick up the wadding, and everyone's trying to figure if we knock the satellite out of orbit, you know, with a golf ball kind of thing. Just, you know, having fun. Hey, Tom Zillickman, if you're still there, or am I still looking okay? We're still trying to figure this, making sure that it's still streaming out and the internet's staying up. I guess, does anybody have any, yeah, thanks, Tom, appreciate it. Does anybody have any questions about it? I'll give you a quick walk around with the camera. We're working on, oh, Milkman, no. Tom Zeleckman answered too. Thank you, Stan. I appreciate it. Thanks for the support. All right. Well, so what I'll do is I'll take the webcam off the top. We'll go over and just take a look at it. If there's anything anybody wants to see how I did differently, I mean, I was pretty self-explanatory in the video, I thought, except right at the end. You know, it took a lot of videos. It was actually a terabyte. Now, listen, it was a terabyte of video filming me making that thing. It's all cut down and condensed. Thankfully, I have a very good business partner and friend that is a master at weeding through my BS and telling me that we didn't need that. Bob Zeal, that's for you. Thank you. Because you can weed out a lot of my BS. And so we blew through the very end of it because I just didn't think you guys, I mean, most of it's kind of self-explanatory, and once you saw it all put together, I figured it out. So we'll pull the camera off. We'll go over here and take a look. So golf ball. It's not a very tight fit, but it's tight enough that you have to wait a second for it to push the air out around it as it rolls back slowly. Some of the things I think I would do differently next time, I would make these spokes bigger. They got a little, I thought they would be heavy enough. Honestly, it's a bunch of stuff that I had sitting around. So, but the wheel's kind of big top to bottom. So when you push on it, I feel like if you pushed on it sideways very hard, you know, like kids who are not being careful with it, you could probably bend it right in here. I would probably do that different. And I'd really like to do wood wheels, but honestly, I don't think I'm that good of a carpenter. The screw, you guys saw the debacle with the screw. When I was done with this video, the material that I was going to make this screw jack out of was actually over there in the lathe down in the chip pan underneath all the swarf, and I have no idea how I got there. I figure one of the kids was picking it up playing with it and they just walked by and chunked it in there, and of course I would have never looked. We were talking about the trunnion ring. Here, let me see if I can give us a little more light. This is a stainless ring that I turned, and it's about 4 thousandths smaller than the barrel, so it's shrunk on there. And then of course the trunnion pins, which are stainless here, they keep that from ever being able to slide back and forth. The only thing that I've changed since the video is I've bored this out a little bigger, because what happens, this is the fuse hole where the fuse goes in there, and so what happens when the fuse burns the first time, it tends to leave like a residue in there, and so you run the prick in there and you try to clean it out, but the fuse doesn't ever want to slide back in real smooth. It kind of builds up even though you're cleaning it out. So what I found is just by drilling it slightly oversized, I'm not letting that much more pressure out of the barrel, and it works much, much better. You know, this is just a piece of tubing here, and then these are just a little half piece of tubing just to kind of make it look cool. Honestly, this I used once when I had a misfire. Other than that, the ram and the is pretty much what I've used every time. Don't really use the rest of it. And you'd think that bright orange you could see it, but you can't. It's gone. I mean, when it comes out of the barrel, I can't even stop it with the camera. So, for some reason, thank you, RZ Prodco, thank you. It was a lot of work. Like I said, it was about 1 terabyte of video that we had to weed through and narrow down, and because the cameras just roll when I work, and it's hours and hours and hours and hours, and then there's this stuff that I just turn it off because I just figured nobody really cares anyway. Cannon Builder, so I don't know what the difference between Cannon Builder says, I'm uploading my redneck version of a Canon. Not a quality Canon, but like Do-Rite, but fun. Well, I don't know what a quality Canon is. I'm not a Canon expert. I just did it because it was fun to do. Yeah, Stan. So Stan Zinkowski says, so a bowling ball next year then. So what I was kind of thinking is we would make a mortar. So the mortars, usually those are kind of short for a cannonball, and I would bring it to the bash. We'd point it straight up in the air. We'd, instead of the four draw challenge, we'd see who the last guy that would, after we lit the fuse, would stand around for the cannonball when it came down. What do you think of that? Cyber Badger, do you get any legal issues in the videos regarding the cannon? No, because the cannon is a primitive weapon. It's not breech locked or breech fired. It's fired with a fuse. Yeah, if it was fired with a what I've been told was if it's fired with a percussion cap or it had a breech, in other words, it wasn't a muzzle loader, it wasn't a primitive, basically a primitive weapon, that there would be legal issues. You can buy golf ball cannons. They're commercially made. And in my research, I found them. There's companies that sell them out there, and they work off, I think it's 1F. I'm shooting 2F. It really doesn't matter. So, I mean, you know, if they show up and want my cannon, I guess I just have to give it to them. I mean, whatever. I'll send it to Stan out there in California. Somebody asked up here earlier, what's up for next year? Well, I don't know about next year. I'll show you this. I wasn't planning on it, but hang on. I can't tell you what, and I'm hoping to get some video shot. Tomorrow's Christmas Eve, and these are my son's Christmas presents. That's as far as I've gotten, right? I was going to do a little video on it. It's not a super exciting like the generator last year, but it was something kind of neat. Had a little oops a little while ago. I don't know why. I'm suspecting that my Kurt vise needs a rebuild in it. This piece jumped out of the vise, and I'm pretty sure I had it cinched down good, and it got chewed up. If you look, if I can get the glare right, you can see right here, I welded this back up because it jumped up in the vise and it gouged it out. Well, I don't have any more of this. So, oops, that almost cost me a computer. So I welded it up. And I think you can see it. I don't know if you guys can or not, but right here, there was a big gouge, probably 3/10 of an inch or more. So I was going to do a little video on that. I don't know if I'll have time because I'm planning on working through the night tonight. The other video, I was thinking about doing some stuff on the do-all. I don't know if you guys are even interested in the do-all. You know, I got it up and running. I cut this with it, by the way. Merry Christmas, Tom Zeleckman. Thank you for your help. So it works. The problem I'm having with the do-all is the belts are old in it. It has like a Reeves type clutch in it, and the belts were slipping when I got up into the higher speed with the lesser tooth count. I've ordered the belts. Actually, they came in the mail today, so I might do a little video on that. I'm not sure yet. Cannon Builder says, if y'all are interested in my crude cannon, YouTube search for Cannon Builder Bugshot. All right, everybody do that. Kind of what I was hoping to do with these these Do-Rite Live shop videos where we're just in here talking, you know, is give people a chance to ask questions. I get a ton of stuff, emails, comments, private messages back and forth from people that want to know stuff. And so Cannon Builder Big Shot. Okay, Cannon Builder says it's Cannon Builder Big Shot, not Bug Shot. Yeah, it's stupid autocorrect gets me every time too. So one of the things I was kind of thinking about doing is maybe doing a little question and answer teaching. If you guys have ideas about stuff you'd like to see, you know, hey, I'm confused about this. Control equal plus makes the font bigger. Yeah. Yes. Hello, Aaron from Montana. Thanks for joining us in. Yeah, I have noticed, Blue Wolf, that my eyes are not like they were when I was 37 years old. Yeah, it's a little tougher now. But maybe do a little a little question and answer. Anything you guys want to know that I know about, I'm certainly not an expert on anything, but I know a little bit about a lot of different things. So I'm happy to share it. I started off literally just banging a hammer against stuff, wanting to learn how to weld. How to sharpen a drill bit. Well, the person to ask for that is actually Adam Booth. Adam Booth is a master drill bit sharpener. I would be happy to show you how I do it, but it would make you cringe. Now, Dale Derry loves that drill master thing. I bought one because he said it works so good. Not for me. He says he's going to, next time he comes down to the shop, he's going to show me how to use it. Apparently, I can't read the instructions or something. Cannon Builder says, what do we do for compressed air and drying it? I don't typically dry the air. I have a refrigerated line dryer in the shop. It's actually right up there above the cabinets. It's built into the lines as the lines come in. Then I have actually, if you look right next to the upside down orange flashlight, there's some switches right there. See them? One of those is the line dryer. And so I can turn that on when I use it. When I use the blast cabinet and sometimes the plasma cutter, I'll turn that on. Otherwise, it's just shop air, so I don't worry about it. I got a really big stand-up tank out back, and unless I've got a lot of air flowing where I get the cooling effect, I don't really ever have a big issue. Do you know how long the post flow? Aaron wants to know. Do you know how long the post flow is in the Square Wave 200? I am looking to buy one and teach myself how to TIG. Well, Aaron, that's how I learned. I actually bought a Square Wave 175 and taught myself to TIG weld doing that. And I burned up every lawn chair and aluminum window frame I could find around, just trying to have stuff to weld with. The answer is, I believe it's a variable rate, and I get a lot of questions on this. Let me explain why. If you're using a nickel-based alloy, stainless steels, titanium is not a stainless, but titanium follows in this group of metals. But the nickel-based alloys, the Inconels, the Hastelloys, they require a huge amount of post flow, because even when the metal is no longer glowing cherry red, you can corrupt the metal with oxygen. So they require a very long post flow time for the metal to cool down where it can't be affected by oxygen. So when you step on a TIG torch, the gas flows out, and when you let up on the pedal, the gas will continue to flow for a period of time. That's called post flow. To keep the Square Wave TIG 200, realize that machine is super badass for being what it is. And here's why. All these other companies out there that are selling machines, you got an asymmetric TIG welder that's from a reputable company. We talked in the other video about welding machines, and you got basically, I call them the big three or big four, but Lincoln Miller, ESAB, those are the well-knowns. There's a couple other big companies out there, but they're pretty big reputable companies that will stand behind that piece of equipment. The post flow on a lot of machines is adjustable, but to keep the Square Wave TIG 200 at such a low cost, they tried to streamline the machine with the stuff that you really don't have to have. Because think about it for a minute. That machine is not intended for people that are TIG welding all day, every day, where a long post flow time costs them a lot of gas. And people, I won't buy one because you can't adjust the gas. Well, what happens is in the machine, or at least I've been told, as you ramp the current up, it adds a little more post-flow time to it automatically. And the reason is, it's kind of a one-stop shop for welding. If you're welding aluminum, you don't need usually a huge post-flow time, because aluminum is highly thermally conductive, so it's going to cool really fast. Stainless, horrific conductor of heat. And so it'll sit there and just hold the heat. It doesn't dissipate it out like the aluminum does. So to make one machine do multiple things, you need to add a little post flow. For most guys that are building, the home gamers, the semi-professional guys that are working on the weekends doing a job, you're not going to really notice a huge cost difference and a little bit more post flow. As a matter of fact, if you train yourself to to hold that torch a little longer, you may actually save yourself some work in prep cleaning up your weld, because a lot of people get in a hurry. Now, case in point, if you guys are on Instagram or you watch a lot of these guys posting these videos or pictures, some videos of some of these beautiful TIG welds that they've done in stainless that have the rainbow colors in them, that post flow was correct. And what happens is, as they move that torch along, the metal is still hot enough that at the surface it's reacting with the oxygen, making an oxide layer on the top. And that oxide layer reflects the heat. That's what gives you, or I'm sorry, the oxide layer has a crystalline structure which reflects the light, which gives you that different colors of the rainbow, because it's like a kind of like a prism, I guess, is the best way I understand it. So to answer your question, I believe it's about 10 to 15 seconds. That's the best I know. I've never timed one. I teach for Lincoln 2 times a year. And when I teach, we run them all week long. And we run 2 classes a day, a morning class and an evening class, and we weld all day. And usually I'll go almost at least half a week or more than half a week on a 120 bottle. That's a lot of welding, and that's a lot of students screwing stuff up. Don't send it to Stan. They're proposing in California a law which outlaws Nerf guns. Yeah, well, that's why I live in Florida. TIG clean. Blue Wolf says TIG clean and clean again. Yes. The 3 rules to TIG welding: aluminum, or clean it, and then clean it again. The cleaner aluminum is, the better it welds. Shade HKW, 10 by 10 by 14 angle plate, 1-inch plate construction, welded with 7018 or TIG. So Stan, here's my answer to that. I think you're going to probably surface grind that angle plate. If I'm picturing in my head what you're going to, I think you posted a picture on Instagram. The difficulty with TIG, or it may actually work to your advantage, is TIG is going to have a large amount of heat input, because you're going to hold that TIG welder on there until you get that metal hot enough to make a molten puddle. So the whole thing starts to heat up. Stick and TIG, those two, I'm sorry, stick and MIG, those two the heat input is a lot faster. So you're on it, you've created the puddle, and you moved on, and it starts to cool faster. Now, if quenching is an issue, if quenching is like a scary thing for whatever you're trying to make there, you know, the rest of that apparatus, you put heat in it, and then the heat's gone. So the rest of that heat sink around it starts to rip the heat away, and you can embrittle the weld if you don't post heat certain things. I don't know exactly what you're doing, Stan, but Stan says hardened and ground. Aaron says he's a Lincoln fanboy. Yeah, I'm a Lincoln fan, and I'll tell you, it's not because you know, I teach for them. I actually teach for them a little bit because of some other outside instances. But why I'm such a huge fan of Lincoln, you know, Miller welders weld, man. I'm not going to lie to you, they weld good. I own some of them. I've owned ESOB. Actually, I've never owned an ESOB. I've owned some, what's the maroon one? Not Hypertherm. Hypertherm makes the plasma cutters, the other one. I've owned some of them. They weld good. But when at the end of the day, when you're 3.5 years into your warranty and something goes pop, or here in Florida, lightning strikes and blows up a board, it's great to have a company that'll you know, stand behind you and say, hey, we'll take care of that. We'll fix it for you, because all their new machines come with a 3-5 year warranty. You know, it's not a bad deal. So Stan, getting back to your question, if you really want a pretty weld, you know, you can TIG it. You can bring the whole thing up to temperature and TIG it, no problem. You're going to need to grind it quite a bit to get down into that if it's 1 inch thick. But either one, you know, whether you TIG, you MIG, or you stick, if all those welds are ground and set up correctly, every one of them makes the same strength weld. If it's done to an AWS certification, if it's a 1 inch weld of 7018 stick rod, if it's ER70S MIG wire, if it's ER70 TIG filler wire, and it's done correctly, they all make equally the same strength of weld. But the other factors you have to look into are like the heat input. Do you pulse MIG, Cannon Builder, do you pulse MIG aluminum, and with what machine? Pros and cons of the machine. Yes, I pulse MIG. I have not done it in a long time. I was doing a lot of stuff, developing technology stuff in process plants. And I was designing conveyor type systems, harvesting conveyor systems, and for aqua technologies. And so we built a lot of stuff out of aluminum and some stain. Actually, then I went into doing some water and sewer plant work. So we did a lot of stainless then. I have the two machines I like. I have a C300, Lincoln Electric C300, and I have the Python push-pull gun. And if you set that up correctly for aluminum, it looks like a TIG weld. It will lay it down as fast as it'll weld faster than you can if you want to set it up that way. You can't keep up with it. So Stan Zinkowski says, oh, stress relieve at 1100 degrees when done and will preheat before welding. Stan, they make equally that, if you're looking for pretty, you could make a nice looking stick weld. You can make it look nice, but it never has the beauty of a TIG weld. It just doesn't, unless you're a structural iron worker and, structural steel is your thing. So pros and cons of the machine. Oh, also Cannon Builder, I also have a 350 MP, which is another Lincoln Electric machine, and that Python gun will fit on that. Both will pulse MIG, but I do tend to like the C300 better. There's both those machines can have aluminum or any program for any alloy downloaded to them for your specific application. So they uploaded an update to the aluminum software not long after I bought it, which has been probably 6 or 7 years ago, and it's never failed me. I've done a lot with it. I really like it. Steve Lang, Shark River, based on your recommendation, I purchased a new Lincoln Autodoc. What is your issue with the less expensive helmets? So here's my thing. It's not a less expensive helmet. Obviously, when you buy a brand name, you're going to get a brand name. Buy it. I buy things. I try to buy them once. The Harbor Salvage and a lot of the ones you get out of the mail order catalogs. Do you know that they have been tested and rated to protect your eyes? There's a device that they run them through that runs UV and IR through the lens to check it. And most things will stop UV or IR. But what we don't know is it stopping it? Is it stopping it? And is it going to fail on you when you need it the most? You can stop most, I think I'm getting this right, you can stop most UV light with just a good pair of sunglasses. So that keeps you from actually cooking the surface of your eyeball, like getting a sunburn on your eyeball. The brightness can mess with I think I'm going to say this correctly, the rods and cones that are in the back of your eye. If you look at something too bright or get too many flashes, some of that's temporary and some of it's permanent, I believe. Not a doctor. So my big thing is if you have a $29.95 pair of eyes, buy a $29.95 helmet. I just don't cut corners there on the helmets. So Cannon Builder asks, do they have hot start? Yes. The C300 and the 350 MP both have hot start, and what that is basically when you're pulse MIGing, when you squeeze the trigger, it squirts out wire at a higher voltage and a higher wire feed speed for just a second to because if you're welding a big thick piece of aluminum like this, it's cold. So when you first start to weld, there's no heat buildup in it. And so you can program it to, for whatever period of time you tell it, run hotter and then back down. And yes, they both have hot start. Craig Young, AVE did a good show on auto darkening this week. Yeah, I saw that in my queue. I haven't had a chance to, I've been crazy busy with the holidays. I haven't had a chance to look at that yet. Steve Lang, you are very welcome anytime, my friend. Hello, Nori Jerk. How are you? So, if anybody else has got anything, well, I know I think we're on about a 20-second delay from when I say it to when you see it. So we'll give you a minute. Blue Wolf says it's like breathing. Use a good mask at all times. I use one and it's always dirty at the end of working. Yeah, that's a good point. It is. And, you know, safety stuff you just don't want to cut corners on. I mean, it's that one time when it doesn't work. Cannon Builder, you've asked my share. You're more than welcome. Anytime, my friend, that's what we're doing it for. I'm good. Norma Drick says I'm good. Good, buddy. Hope everyone's having a good holiday season. We're going to try to do these. I don't know how often. You know, think about it. I was kind of thinking of maybe I'd do one of these videos on the Gershner toolbox that we talked about earlier that Keith Rucker turned me on to. It's kind of a neat box. There's a lot of neat stuff in it. Just filter cigarette works. That's why they get, yeah, that's true. Another one I thought maybe we'd do a little bit of talk about tungsten. I get a lot of people send me emails about tungsten and questions about why, the size, what's the point, what's the different, what's good, what's bad, what da 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 da. Blue Wolf says, hope you have a great Christmas and fun with your children. Thank you. That's pretty much all Christmas is for me, is watching the kids and then watch them crash at about noon. Eric, don't live streaming much improved. Thank you. We worked hard over the last few weeks, Eric, trying to improve the live stream. How has your firefighter paramedic training affected or influenced your welding or fabrication? I've fabricated a lot of stuff for the fire trucks over the years. Man, I've fixed a lot of them too. I would say it's kind of the other way around, honestly. My, you know, everything is about life knowledge, like the things you pick up through life. Even working in a Christmas tree lot when I was 15 years old, you know, some little stupid way to tie a knot, or, you know, how to load a Christmas tree on top of a car. You know, it seems insignificant at the time, but as you get older in life, like becoming a fireman, you got to learn to tie a lot of knots. And so you take those little bits of knowledge and you carry them no matter where you go. I'm very soon to be retiring, I hope, from the fire department in another couple of years, and I'm nothing but a set of footprints on the doorstep. But that knowledge that I've learned fabricating, working on machines, working as a mechanic, I got certified in AMCUS, TNT, Homatro, all the different rescue systems that repair all their hydraulic tools. So I've carried that with me over the years, and it's, you know, on many occasions it's helped out. So to me, it's a little bit the other way. Like, what I know in the shop time has helped my job as a firefighter paramedic. I'm an engineer, so I drive the fire truck, and so I'm also responsible for the equipment on the truck. What kind of fume extractor to use? My home machine shop asked, what kind of fume extractor? I have the Lincoln Electric, the Mobiflex. Is it the Mobiflex? The mini one, the small one that's just got the hose with the magnetic base you set on there. But I've got a couple of really big floor fans here in the shop, and the shop is pretty open. If you ever get a chance to stop by here and see it, it's pretty open. So a lot of times once I've got air moving through the shop and it's just being exchanged, I'm not too worried about it. But when I do work in restaurants, I've done some work in restaurants before, it's called a mini flex. That's what it's not a Mobiflex, it's the mini flex. I bring that in the restaurant, it plugs into 110 and it extracts all the fumes. And when we do a lot of the convention center type stuff, I used to help Lincoln do the trade show stuff. We would have those set up in the well booths, and they're supposedly they purify stop almost all of the bad stuff. Fire truck stuff. Can you make me one of these? You want me to make a broken one? Yeah, I do tend to keep fire trucks running. It's our nature. Jerry, you got a Jerry Scram says, I love my Jackson helmet, 20 years old and still works great. Yeah, I've got one of those old Jackson lenses that fit in there, and they did work great. But I would encourage you to try some of the new Lincoln, especially what they're called their 4C technology, because it's not green anymore. When you look through it, it doesn't have that green hue anymore. It's a lot. They call it high definition, and the helmets are a lot lighter than they used to be. Those old Jacksons, I mean, it's just like, look at this thing, right? Somebody told me the other day that has 100 times more computing capability than all of the computers on the space shuttle combined. Now think about that for a minute. That's pretty weird. So my point is, technology changes, and that old Jackson helmet of yours, there's nothing wrong. Jackson makes good stuff. I'm sure their helmets are quality rated helmets. I don't mean that only Lincoln or only, a Miller or Optrel or 3M Speedglass. They're not the only ones that make good helmets. Biggerville, PA. Check out Joseph Machine here on YouTube. I build CNC automated machines. Hello, Guns of War. Sure thing, no problem. Yeah, Cannon Builder says he has a new helmet with 4C lens and it's amazing. Yes, they are. Especially when you get optically challenged, as I'm noticing at my old age, I don't see the weld puddle with the clarity I used to. I'm on the upper side of getting close to 50 now, and it's not easy to see like I used to. So that anything those high-def helmets give you, take. Norway Jerks in Fayetteville, PA. Pond Bank. Well, guys, Eric Dolby says American LaFrance fire trucks were made in blue. So interesting thing about an American LaFrance fire truck, I help Orlando Fire Department. If you're ever in Orlando, stop by their fire museum. They have an amazing fire museum. They have a very, very early all brick building that has some very early fire trucks in it from the teens. There's a 26 American LaFrance in there that I pulled out as mothballs many years ago and got running. And then later on, a group of retired firefighters actually got enough money to have it completely restored, and it's in there, and it's absolutely beautiful. And it's American LaFrance. It's a wooden spoke wheel American LaFrance. Use corrective shop glasses. Yes, Blue Wolf says that. Jerry Scram, would be nice to have the grind mode. Yeah, the Lincoln helmets have a grind mode. Hold on. I don't know if we can make the camera see this, but there's backwards for me. So there's a setting in here that you can set this to grind mode. And this helmet right here, this Lincoln helmet, this is one of their Viking helmets. This is the one they call Steampunk. So the deal with the helmets is when I teach, they give me a helmet for the week because I'm teaching. I'm in the helmet, it's 5 hours a day probably, and nobody wants the helmet back when I'm done with it because it's pretty funky. So that's how I get it. You guys have seen me have different helmets. That's how I get them. I just get, the nasty one that's left over that after my sweaty head's been in it for a long time. These helmets go all the way down to a shade from a 5 to a 13. So theoretically, you could put it in, I guess, grind mode and probably oxy-fuel with it. I've never done it because I don't do much oxy-fuel stuff. Oh yeah, I use the do-rag, dude. No problem. I got a whole bunch of them, but it's still funky after you've had your head in it for a week. So I appreciate everyone hanging in there. I want to take this moment to thank all of the police officers, firemen, nurses, and the United States Armed Forces that are going to be on duty protecting us, protecting our country, because this guy has finally got enough seniority that I'm off on Christmas this year. First time in 22 years I haven't had to, basically, threaten to break somebody's legs to get Christmas Day off. I've or work 2 shifts for one guy working so I could be with my kids. So I'd like to thank all those armed forces, firemen, policemen, nurses that are going to be on duty, keeping us safe. Have a happy holiday season. Merry Christmas to you. I hope to put up Merry Christmas to you, Norway Jerk. I hope to be doing this on a regular basis. Please, in the comments after this video goes live or goes up, if you want to see something, just put it in there because I read everybody's comments. I read them all. Sometimes I ignore them because I don't want to offend anybody by saying anything. Most of the time, I just let you know that I read it by saying thank you. If you want to watch the Canon video, right up here, somewhere up here is going to be a link. You can go watch the complete build series on the Canon. And Bob, yep, Bob's your uncle. I actually have an uncle named Bob, so I can say that. I have an Uncle Bob. I have an Uncle Jim, too. How weird is that? Guns of War. All right, guys. Again, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll see all you real soon.